There's not a lot of women that work in sound.
Period after graduating is very isolating.
Your life outside of film, like, is still very real. Am I gonna meet the right people? Am I gonna present myself the right way? That's just so exhausting.
I like to start this interview with a simple question, but not really simple.
Okay,
What is your
fine.
current favorite song at the moment?
Ooh, my current favorite song?
One that you're like bumping lately.
Lately, probably. So I listen to like a wide variety of music, and that when people say they listen to everything, I'm like, everything? I'm like a person that listens to everything.
Yeah.
But recently I've been really into like hyperpop. There's this new artist called Fetish, and her like I think it's called like Club Fetish or something. It's so good. It's so fun to listen to. My favorite song off of that, probably, let me get my phone because I
you're
want to make sure. I think it's called like American Dream, but it's just like, I've been into really like hype, like girly music. And
do you think that's from the aspect of Charlie's recent rise with her new album?
I think so. I'm also just like, I grew up in like a small town with like a small group of friends, and we're like very gay, very like like we always just like dance to like really hype music because there's nothing else to do. So that's probably like my biggest, like, every time I find something, I'm like, we need to go dancing to this, like we need to go to the club and bump this. Off of this one, Miss American Dream.
Okay, Miss American Dream.
It's so good. And she like, I don't know, she's relatively new. Like most of her singles on here, now I don't know if when she uploaded them to Spotify, but it's all like 2024. So she's a relatively new artist, and I'm like, her whole discography is kind of really good.
So I'm here with Norma Bieberdorf at DeadCenter. And before we even get into why you're here with all your films, I'm really fascinated with the creative journey in your 20s and really finding yourself creatively. And I think a lot of people don't really talk about that period. You know, they talk about, I started here, I got here, but what's that middle? So I would love to hear about your journey to getting to a point where you are doing sound, or is sound just a stepping stone for you where you want to see yourself grow in another creative way?
Mm-hmm. That's a really good question. And I want to applaud you for asking it, even because I feel like within industries like this, it's like, let me put my best face forward and be like, this is where I'm at and this is where I'm going. But like for a lot of people, it's not linear, and so like hearing about the in-between I think is really important. For me, I would say that I'm still kind of in like that middle area. I don't know if it has anything to do with like imposter syndrome of like you're never gonna know like whenever you're at your best, or you're always gonna feel like you can be somewhere else. But right now, I do sound. It's been fun. I'm always the type of person that's like, I can try that and see how it works. And that's just kind of what I've been doing. Like, there's not a lot of women that work in sound in general that work in sound compared to like camera department or art department or stuff. Or maybe people just don't have like a big network of like Oklahomans that do sound. And so that's kind of how I fell into it. And then every time you do a shoot or whatever, you learn a little bit more. So it's like, okay, I have a little bit of this under my belt and people need help. So I'm here to make friends. I'm here to help. That's what I've been doing. I love video editing. I love like documentary work. That's probably documentary production. I probably prefer to narrative production, just like the process in general, but I love to do both. And I'm kind of at this like weird stage where I'm just now kind of getting the confidence to put like my own work forward. I graduated like sometime last year. It's been a little over a year.
Okay, we're the same graduating class, so we're probably exactly the same age.
It's weird. It's a really weird, like I had really bad like post-graduation depression. And I also like a lot of people don't talk about like your life outside of film, like, is still very real.
Yeah, there's like you said, there's like a separation because I think people that are on an, I would say like quote unquote normal path, right, of
Right.
finding a job and going to work at a 7-Eleven or a Gap, or something like that. A creative, in a sense, is you have to do those things to pursue your creative stuff. So it's like a whole
Right.
other thing, but that creative stuff comes from the hardship in your normal life, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And definitely that period after graduating is very isolating, I think,
I think
because
so.
some people are going off and they have some sort of direction. Creative, you're like, can I grab this apple here and there? Like
You're
it's
doing what you can
exactly,
to like
and
maybe get something out of
yeah,
it. But yeah.
and I think the best way, because I had the same way that you think about. I'm still in the middle of it. Like there's little touchstones that we have, like little touchstones, and like you have 2 films here at DeadCenter, and you worked on sound, and they're both in here. That's incredible. That's a good
Yeah.
touchstone. But yeah, I definitely understand a feeling like still chugging along.
Yeah. Yeah. I've learned a lot like since graduating, kind of like changing like mentally how I think about it and stuff. It's going to happen whenever it happens at like the right time, and probably not when you're like pushing for it actively.
It like happens to you.
Yeah. Well, and I think so much of like industries like this, it's can like kind of fall into where things feel transactional.
Yeah.
And I've just kind of put less value on that. I've met like so many cool people and seen like so many amazing perspectives and about humanity, and also just like getting to know other people. Like that itself is a valuable experience, I think. And also just like trying to flip the switch where it is like a privilege to be young in your career
Yeah.
or early on in your career, because like it could really go anywhere.
Yeah.
So kind of just trying to do like a perspective shift with that. And I found that now I'm happier. 1, 2, like it feels it's less intimidating because it feels like less of a transactional thing. Like if I go to this thing, am I going to meet the right people? Am I going to present myself the right way? And stuff. And that's just so exhausting, I've found. And I think that was like one of the, I'm not going to call it a mistake necessarily, but like something that I struggled with whenever I, first started my journey. But that shift has probably been like, I think it was necessary, and I think it was really helpful in a lot of different areas other than my career. So.
Yeah. So let's go back to the beginning when you figured out you wanted to be creative. So you say you really like video editing and documentaries. Did it start there with you? Were you like, man, I want to do this? Or what was the, like, I guess, light that started your creativity?
Well, when I graduated high school, I knew that I wanted to lean into my creative side more, but I didn't really know what that was going to look like.
Did you have, at that time, any creative outlets you were doing, or?
I mean, honestly, not really. Like in high school, I was like working all the time. Like I was like a general manager of a fast food joint at like 18.
Yeah.
But also like I have a little brother, well, kind of like taking care of him in like in a weird way, and then like trying to like prepare for college and like let me get all these scholarships so I can like afford to get an education and stuff like that. And so my leading up to that, it was really just like go 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 go. And then after it ended, like high school ended, I was like, well, I really want to touch these parts of my life more that I feel like I haven't been able to for the past few years. So I didn't know what that was going to look like.
Were you like the media during that time? You were super busy. Were you like really into documentaries or like watching movies? Like during that time, was there anything that like kind of, would you say, looking back now before you made the decision that you're like, oh, that really like inspired me?
I mean, I was really into like horror at the time. But back when I used to do my bios, like early on in my career, I would always say that I have like connections to the horror genre. As far as like specific media goes, I don't really know. I was watching a lot of like, I think like in what is around that time, like 2017, I think like Hereditary had just came out in theaters and stuff. And I was like, oh, like weird movies get distributed and put out in theaters. And so kind of went from there watching like David Lynch films. I'm always a big fan of like the Silent Hill franchise. Yeah. And so that was really big. Horror was like my thing. And so I always thought I was going to lean into that. Documentary was that's kind of a recent thing, I think, within the past like year or so. I wasn't really watching a lot of documentaries, but like being on documentary productions made me more curious about it. So I would say that's more like a recent thing for me.
Okay. So after high school, you were like, okay, you saved up this money, you were working. From that point, where was the pivot? So that you were going into college, what were you studying?
At the time, I was actually studying elementary education.
What a pivot.
I've done a lot of different things.
That helps perspective with movies, though, you know?
Yeah. I knew that I wanted to like make an impact in some way. I'd always had like a strong love for movies like throughout my childhood, but I just wanted something that like I knew that I was going to mesh well with. But I was actually a teacher's assistant, and I would always like encourage the kids to, do what they wanted to do. And they were like, well, what do you want to do? And I would start telling the kids, I'd be like, I'd like to make a movie one day. And they would be like, wow, that's so cool, Miss B. And doing that, and we didn't have a film program at that school. But I guess just always being in that environment and being like with the kids, and they made it feel like it was so much closer than like adults will make it out to be. They kind of inspired me, honestly. So I moved to Oklahoma City, and I went to OU, and I studied film there. And it's kind of I've been here ever since.
So that's one thing that I think anyone that's watching this that is an Oklahoma creative, how is it to be an Oklahoma creative? Well, especially in like you already said that sound is a small sector of the film in general. So how is it to work? Like, well, first of all, we actually need to get to how the pivot to sound came to be.
Okay, the pivot to sound. Yeah. I guess like I just started doing film school, and we needed people to do like obviously for most films, for most of the case. Yeah. You're going to want sound.
Yeah.
It's like 50%
very important
of the picture. Yeah. And so I kind of it felt natural to me, like setting it up together. Or I think maybe somebody was like trying to get it to work, and I just needed like to do Phantom Power or something like that. And I did that, and they were like, whoa. Because, it's just a bunch of kids that like have never done this equipment before. I think we needed to do it for like a project, and they were like, well, she knows how to turn it on. She can obviously do it. Yeah. And that's just the area that people needed help in. And, more people were attracted to other departments. And so that kind of just like became my thing. Like, oh, Norma is very helpful, and she knows how to do sound. Like, let's do that.
But like, honestly, those things, and I would say even my case too, the unsung heroes of film, like you see cinematography, you see the on screen, you see the actors, the director, like in football, the quarterback in a sense, but people don't really tend to flock to those smaller roles, but they're so incredibly important.
For sure.
Like a lot of people will hear a song in a movie and like, oh, they just played a cool song. That's cool for the director. No, it doesn't really work that way. There's licensing.
You as a music supervisor.
But like sound, like if you're watching a trailer or a movie with bad sound, you're probably going to dip from it.
You're going to notice, you're going to dip from it more than you would for bad camera.
Yes.
Like it's so powerful in that.
Creative, you could be like, that's a creative choice. With sound, it's like, oh, that's just bad sound.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just don't want to do that role. So that's incredible that like, okay, I want to make films. I want to do it. And people are in need of this, and it came natural for you. So you pursued it. So that's incredible. So with that in mind, so you moved to Oklahoma, you find sound is kind of a good thing for you. Kind of like simple.
People want me to help them.
Yeah.
Like, of course I want to help these people.
So how, as a sound person, now you made this pivot and you're wanting to work on sets, how difficult or easy has it been for you to work as a creative in Oklahoma?
I mean, it's been moderately difficult, I will say.
Yeah.
Just because, like, I don't know, like, I still have to pay my bills.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Like, I work full time in a restaurant
Yeah.
as well, and like, I want to help all the people we can. And I love working on Oklahoma films. But like, you know, you take off like a weekend, and especially, I don't know if you've ever worked in the restaurant industry, the weekends are where you make the money.
Yeah. Tips. Yeah. A lot of people,
and
yeah.
so you take off like a weekend for the month, and it's like, okay, that kind of put me back a little bit. You need to take off more time. That's like more time where you aren't working. And, you know, sometimes, you know, with the limited resources that we as like Oklahoma filmmakers have, like sometimes it's not enough to keep up with that cost of living. That's the one of the biggest challenges I've found working in independent film. But I want to stay in independent film. It's crazy.
No, it's like I think a lot of people say that independent film has the most personal stories, you know, very creative. So that makes sense. Like that's your path, you know. But it's extremely difficult. You know, you'll see articles like film's doing great in Oklahoma, but for the people actually working on them and stuff like that, it's actually really difficult. People don't know what a music supervisor is. Every time you talk about it, you have to explain it. And probably the same with you. You're like, oh, you do sound, and then you're like, oh no, I actually do this and this and that. You know, like there's so many different layers to it and stuff like that. So that's fascinating. So let's move on to the films you're here for. So you worked on 2 movies. So the 2 films you worked on are Until We Weren't, and then The Thrilling Adventures of Amos Waters. So pretty big. You worked on 2 movies. So how did these come about, and whichever one you want to start with?
I can talk about Amos Morgan.
Okay.
That film, that was one of the films that I was able to see, but the 3 films I was talking about. And so that's included in Okie Shorts. And I got brought onto that because my friend Paris, I had done some documentary work for her in DeadCenter the previous year, and she had just remembered that I did sound, and she was like, let's bring her back on. Like, here's this script. I loved the script. And I kind of just came on like that. The good things about working in film in Oklahoma is that like everybody kind of like has each other's back. And so I just knew that my friend was producing this film, and I wanted to help her out, and the story was great. It was what felt like to me was like an Oklahoma story about innocence and childhood, and that was just something that I wanted to be a part of. Yeah, really. So that was a really cool experience. We did that in August last year, and it was hot. Most of the time, Oklahoma filmmaking is hot.
Oh yeah, you'll be drenched in sweat by the end of it, or not the beginning of it.
I was really every time I do like a sound thing, I'm always like incredibly nervous.
Oh, 100%. Like, when I get home, is this gonna be good? Type of thing.
Yeah, and like, I don't know. I've always just been like the early stages of my career. It was like, oh, she's got it, and then they'll recommend me to someone else, and like, she's got it. And I'm like, okay, I got it. I got it. Yeah. So I brought my one of my friends, Karma, on. She was my boom operator for that short, and it was a really fun experience. And I love to do, when I do sound, I love to bring somebody else on just to bounce ideas back and forth, and also just like make sure that we keep each other level-headed.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so what about Until We Weren't? Well, how was that experience?
Yeah, Until We Weren't. I also brought Karma back on for that because she had helped me on Amos, and it was a great experience. So I brought her onto that. I had known Victor, the director, for that project because he had ties to OU, where I went to school, and also my professor, Sunrise Tipicani, knew him, and he actually connected me to him. Because like we like mutually knew each other, but every time we see each other, we're like, "Hi." We introduce each other again.
Networking,
yeah. And I'm like, I know you, and he'll be like, "Okay, I know you too." But I helped on that project, and it was actually cold whenever we did that one. So Oklahoma filmmaking is like kind of crazy. Like it's either going to be really hot and humid, or like you're going to get like rained out or have like possible ice storms. That shoot almost got canceled for the first day because of like I think it was the snow when it was really bad this winter. Yeah, so we did like we started with an exterior that day, and then we went inside, thankfully. But I mean, yeah, Oklahoma filmmaking for you.
So I'm curious, what did you personally learn from these films? So like, you've already learned a lot, and these 2 films coming in. So after doing both of these films, it could be something personal, it could be something filmmaking wise. What did you come out of these specific 2 films that you're going to take into your future?
That I'm taking to my future?
Like your future projects or and life and stuff like that. Was there like any lessons learned?
I mean, I kind of already touched on this, but that like Oklahoman filmmakers, like they have your back.
Yeah.
Like if this is an industry that you want to be a part of, like we help each other. And like, it's always like, I think I touched on this too, like the fear of things being too transactional. I haven't felt that way with either of those films that I worked at. And I love like going around here in DeadCenter and seeing familiar faces. And like whenever like me, I have a project that I want to do in the fall. Like one of my first like in a while, like directorial thing.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. And so like, I've just been surprised by how many like people like have my back in that.
Yeah.
And how, I don't know, like that just always feels great.
Yeah. You feel confident in a sense, you can create a team for whatever project you're working on, or vice versa. You know, if someone needs a project, you'll be there with sound. That's awesome. That's really cool. So you've built like a sense of the community in a sense. Yeah. So that's really cool. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit about the film you have coming up. Okay. I know you probably don't want to give that much away, but what type of direction is this going? Is this a more documentary type of film, or is it going the roots of horror? Like what's the kind of vibe?
For my new film, it's titled Subject to Change, but it's called Girlhood. And it's I haven't done a narrative body of work in a while. And so I'm dipping my toes back into that. Yeah. So it'll be like my first, or not first, but it's been a while since I've done something directorially, and then since I've done something narratively. So I'm challenging myself. Yeah. in that. And it actually, ironically enough, it's a silent film for the most part.
It's like I'm getting back on you, sound. I'm not gonna have to deal with you.
No, I love sound.
Yeah.
But for this story in particular, I felt like it was more powerful as like a visual. Visually, it's a story that like I've been inspired to write from my like upbringing, just like living in rural Oklahoma. So a lot of that is included. It does have like horror-esque elements to it. And so I'm happy to like bring that back. And it's a story about women. That's something I have been really passionate about I've been sitting on this for like probably like 2 years.
Yeah.
And so working more with like Oklahoma filmmakers has given me like that confidence to be like, I have people that can help me. I have people that value my perspective. And it's crazy that I've had this idea for 2 years, but I haven't really had the guts to really put it forward. But, you know, that's like the beauty of being early in your career. Like, it changes.
Yeah, you're exploring different routes in a sense. And in a sense, it's actually even more risky that you're doing it. In a sense, like it's very honestly creatively brave in a sense, because like you're the one thing you're good at you can count on, and you're not even doing that. Like you're not doing sound, the thing you know best, and now you're moving on to the other parts and then only do that. That's impressive. That's really cool.
Oh, thank you.
And I hope it goes well. But so one thing I like to end these interviews on is a lot of people don't give themselves a big congrats or pat on the back, if you will. So through your experiences within film so far, could be anything or at any time, what is the thing you're most proud of in your creative journey?
thing that I'm most proud of in my creative journey. Well, maybe this isn't quite a straightforward answer, but I don't know if you can tell by listening to this. I'm a very anxious individual. And I've really just pushed myself like a lot since I've been living up here in Oklahoma City since like late 2022 or something. And even like before that, going into high school, like I wanted to be a teacher and all this stuff. I didn't know that I could change my own direction like that. And so I guess just like being willing to try other things and put myself out there. I'm gonna give myself a pat on the back like that. If you're an Oklahoma filmmaker and you have anxiety, if you're young and you are scared, as we should be,
Yeah.
Congrats for trying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's huge. Crazy. Incredible. Good job. I just met you, but good job, you know? But yeah, so you have that coming project. You worked on some films. You do sound. Where can people find you on social media or whatever you want to just promote so people that come across this want to watch?
Yeah. You can follow me at Absolutely Rotten Creates. That's where I kind of do updates for like my film stuff. I also do like concert photography every once in a while, concert videography. So I understand your like intersection to music.
Yeah. You probably worked Norma Music Festival, haven't you?
I actually haven't. I was supposed to do a documentary with Norman Music Fest. When was that? Not this past year they did it, but the year before that.
Yeah.
But COVID ended up getting the best of us for me and most of my crew on that project. But love what they're doing with music, Norman Music Fest.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff happening around there, and I'm trying to do stuff in there. But thank you guys for watching. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.